financiers transition into supporting the built environment with green finance. So that's a key, enabler of this market. The second is design compliance. We need to use locally available materials so that it's cheaper and it is practical sense for local markets. And then lastly, when we think about low-cost solutions, we need to think about communities. So no matter what we are trying to achieve, without understanding that the market has to reflect low-income communities, that's the only way we can really take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nasra. Patience, I'll come to you as President of Women in Real Estate. And really, Nasra pinpointed it that sustainability is for all. Sustainable housing is for all. And women and girls have distinct needs when it comes to housing adequacy, safety from violence, access to sanitation, space for income generating activities, proximity to services. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about WIRE's work on gendered housing and public space in terms of the space of ensuring that the roadmap and the delivery of the roadmap works for women and girls.
Thank you very much. One of the key things about the roadmap is its structured reflection and scrutiny on inclusion and improvement. And yes, we are focusing on women when we mention things like safety, but safety should be for all. So some of the things that WIRE focuses on is ensuring that women are constantly participating. We're always encouraging our women to be a part of the process, right from the planning to decision-making and execution of these housing principles, policies, coming up with the tools that are going to be used, and these keep changing. So the process does not start and stop. It's a continuous process that we encourage women to be a part of. We've been in the working groups for GBPN, and we've also been in the one for the green building, also done some with KGPS. So that ensures that their voices are heard, their decisions are being included in the policies that are being made. And when a policy is passed, it will work for all. We also encourage integration of essential services so that women don't have to move far to get what they need from this housing, and the services also related to that. That means less exposure to gender-based violence. Gender-based violence ranges from simple things like touching someone uncomfortably to forcefully having sexual harassment in public spaces where most of the time the women are very vulnerable with no help from the public. So when we have less movement from place to place, that enables them to feel safer, to participate more in the environments where they're included. Improved public transport also helps to facilitate movement. Movement facilitation means they are able to access services, they're able to access better education opportunities, do business beyond where they are living. And so this helps to also improve their overall life. You have mentioned something about also the changing uses of housing. I think since COVID, we're having a lot of business that's running in our homes. That means we are spending more time in the houses. So what does that mean if the house is not healthy, if it's not safe? That's for the women, the children, and other vulnerable groups as well. And like I've said, it's not just the women and the vulnerable groups. Even the men want to be living in healthy spaces. We also encourage the use of gender disaggregated data so that we're able to identify gaps. We are affected differently by these gaps in policy, in the housing. So once we are able to identify something that affects us critically, we bring that to the table, discuss with our different partners, and that way we're able to come up with solutions that work for everyone. And when you're on the discussion table, that means you don't come back to keep reviewing policies. You just keep improving them and making them better for everyone. I'd just like to mention that a city that works for women works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Patience. So I want to do a quick round of just a quick closing 30-second from each of the panelists so we can take 2 or 3 questions from the floor. And the question I want to ask for everyone, what is the change that, if made tomorrow, would accelerate everything else on the African continent to achieve sustainable and healthy housing? What is the change that, if made tomorrow, would accelerate everything else on the African continent to achieve sustainable and healthy housing? Keep it to 30 seconds, 1 sentence. I'll start with President Arabu.
Yeah, I've just switched off my points. I was ready to speak to them, but I hear you. The time has gone. Quick one. There are 2 things. One, when you talk about policy gaps, for me, I think there's a major part we miss, and that is implementation of existing policies. So every time we talk about gaps, we talk about what is not in law. We need new laws. But we fail to talk about the existing laws that are completely not being obeyed, and also the structures and systems that are in place that are not being implemented. So I hope this roadmap will act as a tracker for us to see our gains and how fast we are moving towards net zero. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Nasra.
I would say adoption, mandatory adoption through cross-sectoral collaboration. The adoption part is the most important gap, and it can't be done in silos. Everyone who has a stake has to work together so we implement a holistic solution for the market. Thank you.
Nasra, Rose, over to you.
Yeah, mine is an area that I have a passion for, which is capacity building and education. So I would say it's education reform. The future is green. You know, we're talking of green economy. So at the moment, green is being talked about as if it's something elitist, it's something out there. So for me, the one change is to reform curricula right from primary school. Green should be infused in the education that is being passed on all the way to the university, so that the mindset goes green. Because as I say, the future is green, so we will transform to that way of living.
In 2023, as a sector, we were 10 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. If nothing is done, we'll hit 13 million. When something is done, by 2030, we'll hit 6.8. If something is even done better, by the time we hit 2040, we'll have reduced that number to 4.1, from 6.8 in 2030 to 4.1 in 2040. In 2050, we are looking forward to reduce that number to 3.37. Now, that is a good projection that we have in our roadmap. But it's a high time for us as a sector to digitalize our systems. I believe for us to track, for us to re-engage, for us to attract partnerships, it's a high time to digitalize our processes. And in a separate conversation, I think you are aware that we are keen later on of introducing green construction management process, so that all the initiatives within our sector, within our decarbonization conversation, then can actually be made public, can also be made known to everyone who is willing to come forward to support the process. And therefore, I would urge that we support digitalization of our processes. Thank you.
Mine would just be to encourage women to get involved. When women get involved, we see action. This GBPN has been led by strong women, WIRE members, and I believe they've done a good job. We need to stop sitting back. We need to stop waiting for those opportunities. They are not coming. We have to take them and make the most of them. We have so many ideas. There's a lot that we can integrate in the systems, in the policies. We can't keep sitting back and complaining that the systems are not working when we have been given spaces on the table. Please take those opportunities up.
Thank you. Thank you so much to the panelists. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you. We can take a couple of questions from the floor. I see two hands up there. Maybe we'll take all of them at the same time. Please direct your question to the specific panelists. One there, and the last one there. My apologies, we've run out of time. So we'll take them all at the same time. Just direct it to the specific panelist. So thank you, Rehema.
Thank you very much, our panelists, and I'm very grateful because I could see you have a vision for why we are here. My names are Joshua Adem. I come from public sector, and I'm a health by profession. Now, my question goes direct to my brother Kennedy. I was hearing very well as you are putting up your roadmap. But in that roadmap, I failed to get you when it comes to the indigenous knowledge, whereby now we look at the culture of the local communities where maybe the housing are going to be established. And this one, as you understand, you are a true African, I could see. There is also always a conflict when it comes now to how do we want to stay here. For example, me, when I stay in the lower house, my mother-in-law cannot stay up where I am. So it becomes a problem. So in your roadmap, how do you handle this when you look at the other side of our indigenous knowledge and our ethics in terms of how do we live within our environments? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joshua. And the microphone can go to the gentleman there at the back. Thank you.
Thank you. Gonta Eric is my name. I work for GAPI, Green Hack Partner International. Mine first is an observation. Second is a question that cuts across the panelists. Well, the reality check that we have on the ground is that waste is here to stay with us. But yes, we are talking about decarbonization. Where is waste in this conversation? Now, going back as a question now, on design and material. Well, there's a lot of material that is being sold as second-hand, which meets all the standard. Yet, the industry promotes virgin materials or virgin products. Why are we not promoting the second life of products that are in the market when we talk about decarbonization? The other question is, my brother has mentioned about indigenous knowledge. Well, if I cascade it further into material, into design of these houses, how we space it, then where is it? We are talking about, again, waste. Well, currently, we have a regulation on EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, So it all talks about waste separation at source. In my kitchen, it's very small, yet I'm mandated to put 4 waste bins for different collections. So where is the design when it comes to decarbonization? Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question right there, please.
Yeah, good afternoon to you all. I'm Ishmael. I'm environmental diplomat by training and by profession. I have 2 questions, and my first question is what constitutes a green building? Like, what are the general specifications? Because we keep hearing that term being thrown left, right, and center. So I'm really excited about it. And do we have, example of such building within Nairobi, besides, Tetu City and Konza City? My second question goes to the representative from the State Department for Housing. And my question is, I come from Kamukunji, to be exact, Isli. And those buildings in Isli, they've been constructed in the last 10 years. And obviously, they're not fit for, for the purpose of, residential. So my question is, what, what is the government doing in terms of enforcement? Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So we have a couple of questions. Joshua, question for Kennedy on indigenous knowledge and also cultural appropriate housing. Gota Eric on waste. Waste is here to stay. Design and materials in terms of secondhand. I think I'll field that to Nasra maybe. And then Ishmael, what is a green building? I think Architect Arabu, I'll field that to you. So maybe start with Kennedy. And enforcement back to Kennedy. So maybe Kennedy, you can answer the two together, then we go to President and Nasra. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua, for that. It is indeed true that we have quite a number of buildings in Kenya, Nairobi being included, and particular of issues around Isli, that in one or the other, there's a lot of, public outcry in relations to their perceived safety. What happens is that as a ministry, we are the custodians of the standards and policies that require safe built environment. And you're also made aware that our counties are our implementing agencies on behalf of the national government on implementation of the various policies that exist. That's why 100% approval of buildings, save for NCA and NEMA, goes to counties. And therefore, there is a lot of delegated function in relations to enforcement that the laws of the land has really delegated to counties. But nevertheless, because we also made aware that as a ministry, we have some gaps with our counties and our devolved units in terms of implementation of the laws, we have a multi-sectoral team drawing all 47 counties and all national regulatory organizations and co-opted a number of professional bodies to come forward in different ways to handle various cases that have been received. From January to date, we have received not less than 50 complaints in different forms. And I'm glad he's talking about Isli, but of late, South C is leading, together with South B and the rest. And therefore, what is raising is of national interests, and there are a lot of cases within Isli that are being handled. But as we talk about enforcement, we're also keen as a ministry to support these counties and regulatory institutions that are responsible for enforcement. We are in advanced stage of seeking cabinet approval for development of an integrated system so that all the national laws exists are in that national system. All cases that have been reported in one or the other are also made public so that the issues around the state of where we are on a case that has been reported by any member of public is also made, and who is dealing after all. So these are some of the things that we are in the process of doing it with a view of building capacity of our counties. And yes, it's the fact that our counties are not much prepared in terms of the readiness for them to handle some of these developments that are coming up is not the reason why we should not be. But I would urge that where we find and we have specific cases, then we are allowed to raise that up. The national government provide oversight. So if there is any breach of any law, you are allowed to make that known to the cabinet secretary responsible for the African Urban Forum, who is also the cabinet secretary responsible for the planning and development of our building sector. So feel free at any point to raise that matter up of a specific case that you may have in that case. Last part is on issues of inclusivity from Joshua. When we are developing the roadmap, actually for us as a ministry was more of a coordination. We have ensured that almost all entities are part of this process in terms of its development. Close to 50 entities were part of it, but then we want to scale up that at the point of implementation. So whereas we have national framework in terms of how we coordinate its implementation, we urge more representations from various informal settlements, from various entities to come forward. And GBPN has allowed and has requested us actually to come forward to also coordinate at a secretarial level the necessary implementation frameworks that are needed in this case. And therefore, if there is any entity in this room and beyond that wants to be part of the implementation of the roadmap, you are very much welcome so that we make the journey together. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. In the context of the informal sector, waste being a priority, indigenous and African knowledge, I want to start by saying, when I began speaking, I said it was important to have a Global South voice in global platforms because sustainability always reflected the global North. That is what we're trying to counter as KGBS and the players who are here. So decarbonization, the roadmap has been launched, but implementation is kicking off now. So issues of waste, issues of indigenous knowledge, informality, all those pertinent concerns can be part of this process because it's a journey and we're recreating this together. I want to tell you that sustainability is recognizing who we are at our core. So it's not excluding the African experience. When it comes to waste, decarbonization does factor that. And in fact, we have already started with steel and cement right now, but we're not excluding other materials. It's going to be a process, but we welcome you for further commitments. Thank you.
Thank you, Nasra. President Arabu, just 30 seconds. What's a green building? And then I will ask the questions asked from the floor. Please find our panelists if we haven't fully covered it due to time. Thank you.
All right, a good question. Sounds obvious in terms of answers, but I'll say this. A green building, you can't see it, you can't know it. It's going to be about performance. How does it behave during the life cycle of being used? Of course, it will start with the issues of passive design, where it was intentionally designed not to depend on mechanical means to be able to do basic things like cooling or thermal comfort. In case of thermal comfort, if you are having challenges with your building where when it's too hot outside, it's also too hot inside, and when it's too cold outside, it's also too cold inside, that's already something that is not green. It's very important for us to think about natural means of insulation, for example, and that also goes to issues to do with ventilation and daylighting. If you have to put on lights like where we are right now during the day, then that building is not green. If you are suffering with cross ventilation and what we call poor indoor air quality in terms of what it feels like, that in itself is not green. But also, let me also invite you to visit the AAK website. We have a healthy homes guidelines and checklist. We have 14 pillars that are sort of speaking to the issues of healthy homes and also speaking to the issues of green. But most importantly is that if your bills, your normal bills, when there's no water from city council, you suffer. You cannot be able to collect rainwater, for example, basic things like those, then you are living in a house that is not green. And I would like also to say that do not look at green from the perspective of the person selling the house, because what is spoken is very different from the actual performance of the building. Back to you, Mugure.
Great. Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone in the audience for being part of us and hand over to the next session with our sincere apologies for overrunning.